What you just said.
Shall we begin?
I knew we was gonna beat them clowns.
Oh, well.
Fire away.
You're listening to 9 to Noon.
Hold on to your butts.
Thank you.
You homer!
Yeah!
9 to noon.
It's an old-fashioned ass kicking right here.
And that's a fact.
Just listen.
9 to noon is back in play on a sunny day, and our adversarial update today takes place around 11:15 with Greg Papa. He is the Vikes for the San Francisco 49ers.
There's Debo in motion. Jet sweep handoff to Debo. A block and a dive for the goal line. And he's up on the goal line and in. Touchdown! San Francisco. And this one counts. They're not taking it back.
KMBR, PA.
Addison didn't practice yesterday for the home team, and Next Level Shanny claims the great Christian McCaffrey was questionable, but they may have been the 40 liars last week with the old injury, so who really knows? This game is not included in our ballyhooed two-part six-pack of picks, but PJ is hosting this tricky Nevada squad, and you can hear that one Saturday, 2:30, KFAN.
Two receivers left, one to the right. That's the wide side. Helms wants to throw. Straight drop. Ball comes out. Picked off. This is intercepted by Jack Henderson to the 10, to the 5. Touchdown. Pick 6.
The six-pack of picks can be prognostications against point spreads or over-unders, or they can just be six-pack of picks because yours truly has picked games I'm genuinely looking forward to. Now, PJ is a 17.5-point favorite against a wishbone team.
As good as you are on that show and everything, every time you make those type of predictions, I run right to the bank and go the other way.
What's the wishbone? The wishbone offense was one of the most popular offensive formations in the 70s and 80s, specifically in college football. The offense gets its name because of how the players are lined up in the backfield. A fullback lines up directly behind the quarterback with two running backs flanked to either side. The four players line up in what appears to be an inverted Y, or a wishbone, which gives the name to the offensive system. The offense is a run-heavy formation that takes advantage of misdirection plays and confusion to open holes for running backs. Now, teams generally use the bone because they don't trust their quarterback to throw at a high level. That this one is part of the six-pack of picks because it's super fun watching teams execute the wishbone, and at times it's super fun watching teams trying to stop the wishbone. Jettison the plan's will. If you're a defense, if you jettison the plan's will and employ your will, wishbone backs can go 74 and out the door. But what really draws me into this one is the potential look-ahead factor for the Golden Gophers. You see, the Hawkeyes are here next week, and that border battle for the great big fat pig absolutely is on the minds of some in the Covenant. They can deny it via press conferences or side conversations, but Nevada and its bone compared to the great big fat pig and a Big Ten battle, well, that's human nature, and human nature gets to win occasionally. So with Iowa on the horizon and the great big fat pig, you go to peeking at that one and not the wishbone and the backs that come with it. Well, that's how those supposedly in the black can go broke at the bank. That's number one for the six-pack of picks. Number two, tonight, the Bills and these guys.
Action fake to it, back to throw, wants a deep one. Downfield, he's got Tyreek. Tyreek at the 40, 35, 30, down the sideline he goes. Touchdown, Miami.
Oh, my gosh. Speed kills once again. Tyreek Hill to the house.
Wow.
80-yard.
I kind of want to hear that Dolphins fight song.
Well, what's the song? Yeah, they play the fight song, right? Wow, did you hear the drums come in? That was so old school. It was like Greasy takes the snap, hands it off to Zonka. He heads right side following Jim Kick inside the 5. Touchdown, Dolphins. Touchdown, Dolphins. Yeah.
We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control.
Hey.
And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl, 'cause
Yeah.
we're the Miami Dolphins.
Oh, that's the ripoff.
Oh, yeah.
What'd they rip off? Superchargers?
Yes, I believe
Yes.
so.
San Diego Chargers. Superchargers. Number two in the controversial yet ballyhooed six-pack of picks.
It's going to be a sweet game tonight.
Yep, Buffalo and Miami are fun to watch because they both can be explosive. But as the super special six-pack of picks would go,
As good as you are on that show and everything, every time you make those type of predictions, I run right to the bank and go the other way.
hear me when I tell you this. The Bills are newfangled, yet have beaten Miami 4 in a row and 11 of 13 times since Josh Allen joined the Covenant.
Wow.
Buffalo is an underdog in this game and knows how to play the Finns, who are already banged up with their best two running backs. Already banged up with something called a Shane and Raheem Mostert. The six-pack's work is done. Yours has just begun.
Why don't you give me half the money you were going to bet? Then we'll go out back, I'll kick you in the nuts, and we'll call it a day.
Number 3, Seattle at these guys.
Ramondre starts right, cuts it back to the inside, and he's going to nearly slip away from a defender, but he picks up a first down nonetheless. He gets to the Cincinnati 44. He was in the grasp of a defensive back, Cam Taylor-Britt, a cornerback, and Ramondre, although he couldn't slip away altogether for a touchdown run, he nonetheless has a first down run.
Put that man in bubble wrap. Put him in bubble wrap. See you next Sunday with Seattle at home. Home opener. And the Orange Sea is dumping out.
That's Scott Zolak Radio. Bob Sosi on the call. 98.5 Sports Hub out of Boston.
Must be an analyst thing. Bursic 2018 at Denver preseason game. One drive, Cousins down the field, touchdown Vikings. Analyst, put him on ice. We've seen enough. Put him on ice. We've seen enough. Get him ready for the home opener against the guy with the high cheekbones and the pretty eyes, Jimmy Garoppolo and the San Francisco 49ers. Zolak, big boy's back. Put him in bubble wrap. We good for the home opener. Are you? The only reason this makes the six-pack of picks is because nary a prognosticating covenant will put a focus on a nondescript game like this. It's Seattle at New England, and everybody's like, who cares? Not 9 to noon. We're the last to go first in all circumstances. Long, long trip for the old Super Chickens. And they're playing in the early time slot, which amounts to a 9 a.m. start for the Seattle Seahawks. But Lemmy Nation knows that. So that's a low hanger the six-pack prefers to avoid, despite there being a PA and Pavlovian. All right, 3-2. Gerard Mayo got his opening week W in upset fashion, and now is a 3.5-point underdog at home. Rubes have to be like, what? Huh? What? They just beat Joey Burrow on the road, and now I get points at home against a middling team traveling 5 hours to play a football game? Nah. The six-pack's work is done. and yours has just begun. Seattle will leave this game an undefeated first-place operation and may beat them so badly the tomato can throwers on WEEI will start the "When does Drake May play" chants very early on Monday.
Why don't you give me half the money you were going to bet? Then we'll go out back, I'll kick you in the nuts, and we'll call it a day.
Did you see, there's a crazy stat out there. Mayo goes on the road. They're in Cincy. They get that victory over Burrow and the Bengals on Sunday. Everyone's pumped for the Patriots, right? Not supposed to win a lot of games, all of that. Joe Burrow, in weeks 1 and 2 of his NFL career, that's a total of 8 games.
Florio shared this yesterday.
1 and 7. Mm-hmm. The only win being against the Purple PA.
So to recap the first 3 of these 6-pack of picks, PJ's game because the bone is fun to watch. All right, 3-2. So to recap the 6-pack, PJ's game because the bone is fun to watch. The Bills tonight because it's proven, unlike fat cows, Buffalo run into a storm. And by attacking it head on, they weather said tumult and find blue skies and sunshine faster than scared big fat cows. All right, 3-2. And the team from the Cappuccino capital, which is about to put the red, white, and blue of what used to be football immortality in its place, feels like a first-place operation after 2. Nordo has 3 for us at 11. Nacho Lieber joins around 10 o'clock to handicap and analyze some games. And around the corner, we have Vikes Bites. Vikes Bites on this Thursday. It's 9 to noon at FM 100.3 KFAN.
Fiber.
Vikes Bites 9 to noon. Although we must begin with a covenant cleanup. A covenant cleanup currently provided by nobody. Welcome back, 9 to noon. Vikes Bites momentarily. Last segment we were talking about the Miami Dolphins fight song. And both of us, it's like, yeah, okay, is that the Chargers? No, it is. We're the Oilers. So we got to listen to it.
Houston Oilers, number 1. Yes, that's right. Houston Oilers.
Miss fight songs.
As the Oilers, the greatest football team. We take the ball from goal to goal like no one's ever seen.
All right, enough of that. But the covenant cleanup currently provided by absolutely nobody, which brings us to Vikes Bites, which is provided by Thousand Hills, lifetime grazed, grass-fed beef, proud sponsor of Gophers Athletics, keeping the local kids home in maroon and gold. Love you, Thousand Hills. Thousand Hills, lifetimegrazed.com. I want to start here. I got some audio to roll through, a couple of bits and talkers. And I know that you're doing pressure points next segment on an entire organization effectively. So looking forward to that topic. But if I was going to do a pressure point yesterday talking about Sam Darnold and third downs, I'm thinking about Harrison Phillips and Jonathan Bullard, PA. And week 1, framing it up, you know, the idea of this is a coach game week 1. This could be a scheme game week 1. Well, the Vikings held the Niners last year to the second fewest carries of their season, just 22, and just 65 rushing yards in total, which was their fewest of 2023 by 10 miles. Jordan Mason, Christian McCaffrey, we'll talk about him. Regardless of whoever it is, they dominate time of possession, and they win games with Shanahan's super unique run schemes. And Jordan Mason, 28 totes on Monday. So if I was doing pressure points, I'm thinking about Harrison Phillips. Glad he made the money. Glad that he's here. Glad that he's on our side. Glad that he got a sack. Glad he had an awesome season last year and hopefully an even better 2024. But I need him. I need Jonathan Bullard. Maybe this is a big Blake Cashman plugging the gap, a big tackles game for Mr. Cashman.
What about Taki Taimani?
In the end, thumping some people, keeping the run game at bay, that's a massive topic, a pressure point, a vital aspect of this one on Sunday. And that'll start with Mr. Flores and his scheme. Looking forward to that.
I hit on it pretty hard yesterday, is the biggest key to beating the 49ers last year. It started with Deebo Samuel and Trent Williams not playing. But pulling the 49ers out of their running game is the last thing Kyle Shanahan expects and wants to happen. So the elixir to that is getting the early lead. And I don't mash on that too hard simply because it's so obvious, to score first, to get off to a fast start. You just hear that a million times. And it always matters, but in some games it matters markedly more than others. And to turn Purdy into a throw first guy, he can still do that. So he can still do that, and he's going to have all of his components, maybe this side of Christian McCaffrey. But it's all predicated off the deception of what they do in their running game. So grabbing a lead out of the gate gets the fans out of their seats, gets loud. 49ers fans, they travel extremely well. They'll be at the game very early. They'll be behind the 49ers bench, and you will hear them. So grabbing a lead early and giving the fans something about which to cheer, that might pull next level out of his running game. You can do that. Gives you a better chance to win.
Vikes Bites. Thank you, Thousand Hills. The injury report came out yesterday. We were worried about Yetur Gross-Matos. He did not participate, PA, with a knee injury. D. Winters with an ankle. Tenaloa Hufanga, their safety, he was limited with a knee. He's back from an injury last year. Jawan Jennings has an ankle. He was limited. This Achilles bit with Christian McCaffrey is interesting to me. He was limited in practice, but Tom Pelissero joined the Power Trip morning show, and Rappaport via NFL Network as well. He reported on it yesterday morning. But the idea of the tendonitis, this goes beyond the concept of my ankle is sore, I will ice it, I will do treatment, and it will not be sore if I give it a bit of rest. Not playing on Monday night doesn't necessarily mean that he's in an infinitely better spot to play this weekend. If he didn't play this weekend, that doesn't mean he's in a better spot. This sounds like an ongoing, if not chronic, type of pain and type of discomfort for him. So limited in practice, and the way that they talk about it, he's working towards and preparing to play. And as we mentioned yesterday, in the end, Jordan Mason, this running scheme in general, they can put, they've worked, was it Elijah? I forget what his
Mitchell.
name. Elijah Mitchell, Mostert before him, Matt Breida. This Niners offense has made some hay with a lot of different names at running back, but for Christian McCaffrey's season, trying to nip this thing, wow, it sounds like a problem for Mr. McCaffrey.
Well, I've said this before, but limited in practice is the most subjective of all of the designations.
Yeah.
Because by stating somebody was limited, you're basically covering yourself for those who are kicked out of the covenant, leaving free agency, are disgruntled, and they leave and they're like, well, yeah, but I mean, this said limited. My man was out there, doing 7-on-7s after the media left. So limited indicates they were there. The did not practice means they weren't out on the field with, they weren't out on the field really doing anything. Not even on the Mike Hughes Memorial Field for like Addison. So the limited designation in this day and age where so many are cunning and coy and deceitful with injury reports, I have no idea how to read into this. The reports or Shanahan talking about some potential lingering things with Christian McCaffrey, reading between the lines of those, it seems tenuous for McCaffrey this weekend, but Deebo's playing. So Deebo's playing. End of story.
On our side of things, PA, Jordan Addison didn't practice yesterday, not necessarily unexpected with the ankle, the injury he suffered in New York. I did see this. I wonder if this is more of a cautionary kind of veteran bit. Andrew Van Ginkel with the foot. I believe that would be a foot that he was recovering from in the offseason. I didn't hear about anything after the game.
Right.
So maybe that's just old people need some rest. And you know what? When you do what he did on Sunday against the Giants.
He's not old.
No, he's not that.
It doesn't work. He's not fat either, okay?
All right.
So fat people don't need a rest. Old... Come on, man.
Is that a new shirt?
Let me lay something out for you before you continue.
Yes.
With the Andrew Van Ginkel Vike Bite. After the pick six, did he play any defensive plays?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember seeing him out there.
Yeah, I don't think he did.
No, okay. Well, something to watch. Hopefully he's all right.
Hey!
This is something to watch, though, and it's something we haven't really talked about. I believe it was Cam Jurgens on the field, the backup center, and he was at least taking some practice snaps on the sideline. KO mentioned it after the game that they were preparing themselves, that Garrett could have potentially missed some snaps.
Michael Jurgens,
excuse me. Cam Jurgens is in Philly.
And he's really good.
And he is really good.
And they're not related.
And they are not related.
Thank you.
I'm awful with names this morning. But Garrett Bradbury, I know that name, and I know that he was limited in practice with a knee. Any worries at all about Garrett, if not necessarily this weekend, but just kind of worrisome with a balky knee?
Yeah, we saw what you just shared. Assumedly, it's been written about. But Jurgens was firing some snaps on the sideline. I mean, old people got to stay warm. Old people got to stay limber. I mean, he's probably 22, 23 years of age, but you got to stay limber. You got to stay warm. Bradbury was Bradbury on the injury report?
He was limited with a knee. Yeah.
So it was limited. Okay. Yep. That certainly bears following.
In fairness, Van Ginkel's 29, PA.
Yeah, wow.
In NFL years.
Fair point.
Old people get tired.
Ain't no doubt. Old people got tired. Might not have come back into the game. Hey, but Jurgens is not old.
No.
And Bradbury, that's interesting. That he was limited. With Javon Hargrave in the mix and Fred Warner behind him after a game against Dexter Lawrence. This probably is just like it takes so much to block big old Dexter for the entire game. It's old people got a little weary after playing against Dexter. I mean, let's give the guy half a practice off, you know?
Well, the key is on the other side of it, for the Vikings to win, they got to have more than 51 offensive plays, PA. So whoever's out there, whoever's healthy, Garrett's going to have to get after it if the Vikings are going to win. The Jets, we thought 51 was low for the purple. The Jets only ran 49 plays of offense on Monday night.
Wow.
And it was like 24 first downs for the Niners to
they won 13. They won the time of possession, you said. I mean, did they just kill it?
It was 38. Yeah, 39 minutes.
Oh, jeez.
No, it was.
That's like some PJ Fleck stuff.
Correct.
Damn.
So watch out for that on Sunday.
That's a great point.
That just can't happen. Vikes Bites, brought to you by Thousand Hills. 7 targets to our running backs on Sunday, and I include C.J. Ham. He had a couple of targets in there. Only 2 for Aaron Jones. Do we like our guys catching out of the backfield on Sunday against these Niners?
Well, the fact that Ty Chandler's catching game has improved as much as it has, and that's not going to take the low hanger off what we saw against the Giants. That's just like from training camp and through the offseason. It's there are a lot of things on which a lot of people need to work, but you can't fix everything at once. So like for Chandler, it's catching it fluidly and running before you look up the field. Well, that got smooth. I mean, that just got really smooth this offseason. From a pass protection standpoint, this is a defense that will put you in compromising spots. Your backup running back, if he happens to be in the game in a second or a third and longish. So that's a story yet to be told. But it's an interesting question because the 49ers defense is better than the Giants simply because they're more organized. All right, now Nick Bosa's the bomb, but Burns, Lawrence, and Thibodeau can cause problems. Well, as can Bosa and the rest of the gang, specifically if Hufanga plays, because he's all over the place and he blitzes. So the answer is yes, they both can catch, but it comes down to catching them in a spot where you don't think you're throwing it to a back. And O'Connell and Shanahan are 2 of the very best at doing that. So, it's the we know that you know that we know that you know you're going to do this. Oh, you swung it to Ty Chandler. Wow, he can make a guy miss. Holy cow, he's fast. So yes, that needs to be part of the that needs to be a mixer within the covenant.
Vikes Bites!
Vikes Bites, you say. It's provided by
Thousand Hills, Lifetime Graze Grass-Fed Beef. Harrison Smith, the hitman, talking about Week 1's defense.
It was a good start for us. There's a lot of good stuff on film and plenty to grow from. There was a lot of good play out there, and we enjoyed playing together, which I think is, to me, is the best takeaway, because those things tend to be kind of contagious and grow. So as long as we can keep searching for even better and just keep pushing forward, I like where we're at.
Background noise with the soft-spoken one, though.
Yeah.
Excited about the Week 1 performance.
Man, he's just chill.
He is, and he's chill because you want to talk about old people tired. Apparently, we're supposed to be taking reps off of the Hitman this year, and he's still playing 98% of the snaps.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian Flores, it's like, you know, if he's on the sideline next to me, I'm not comfortable with that. But Harrison Smith doing his thing with the pick in the end zone, and tough one for him and that safety crew this weekend.
This is a big Harrison Smith game. Mm-hmm. I'm glad you put him in Vikes Bites, because I do envision a time of the season where in certain situations Smith is on the sideline, and that's to keep legs fresh and minds fresh as you approach December and hopefully deep into January. Now, but Harrison in this game, he's so learned and scholarly with the approach. Of all the players on defense, I would think he'd be one of the best at diagnosing what next level is trying to do to fool you. So we got Ayuk in motion to the right. Now all of a sudden we got Juszczyk in fast fake jet motion to the left. What are they going to do? They're going to throw to Kittle, or they're going to go play action off Jordan Mason and try to stroke the post with Jawan Jennings. But Harrison gets stuff like that. He may not get to it as fast as he used to, but he can help people on the back end get lined up for these tricks and this window dressing and this icing sans the proverbial cake with what's coming with Kyle Shanahan's offense. So I think he played 68 plays against the Giants.
He did.
And I fully expect him to play the whole thing in this one Sunday at noon.
And that was, now that you mentioned snap counts, Theo Jackson played 3 snaps, Bobby McCain, Jay Ward. So even despite that lopsided lead, maybe they were making changes elsewhere. You mentioned Taki Taimani not only active in lieu of Levi Drake Rodriguez, but actually got some reps down the stretch. But he didn't call the dogs off. Metellus and Bynum and Harrison Smith all played almost the entire game, despite that lopsided lead into the back end. I wonder how that decision process goes. You're up by 22. You certainly don't want to give them any sort of confidence. Teams can score 3 touchdowns in a quarter. There's no doubt about that. But at what point do you just say, all right, Theo, all right, Bobby, you get in there and let the vets come off?
Well, offensively, and the identity of this team is offense. I think it was the final 2 possessions. We had he's JJ. I'm putting JJ out there with a 22-point lead, and we ain't going to lose the game. No, we're not going to have something called Cordale Flott pissed off that he bit on the Naylor fake run block, and he's going to take it out on 18. So when Taimani and Theo's getting out there and Bobby McCain's getting out there, that has some third preseason game feel to it, which is good news. That's good news, because that means you just whooped on somebody.
Even a Caleb Evans got 3 snaps down the stretch. Vikes Bites, audio from the quarterback. It's something we've mentioned a couple of times this week, PA. Sam Darnold used to play for the Niners. He's excited to have him in town.
Really excited. Just a really good opportunity for us to go out there and play good football and take it one step at a time.
So he's pumped. It was a 1-year pit stop. He sat behind Purdy. He learned from Shanahan, all of that. And speaking of learning from him,
just being able to, learn how they do things over there. Not only schematically, but just as an organization. It was great to be able to be a part of for a year, and to be able to have the season that we had last year was amazing to be a part of. And
But that's the question. As we get into Sunday's game, and we're looking for all advantages, we're looking for adversarial intel from Greg Papa during the 11 a.m. hour. Completely messed us up on Lewis Cine being signed to their practice squad. But overall, Greg Papa's got the bits. Are we going to use any of that intel on Sunday, Mr. Darnold?
Yeah, I think, just seeing them every day, I think it definitely helps. Just experience being able to see the defense. But, I'm sure, they'll have some different things. But, again, like I said, really excited about the opportunity.
And it brings us back to something that Rubes asked via the text line earlier in the week when we were at TCO, and Kevin O'Connell was in studio with you, to the idea of how much it really matters that a player was on a practice squad or he was a member of the scout team, he was a backup, he moves on, how much changes from year to year to year. Is that a potential advantage? Are we looking for moments of comfort from Sam against a familiar foe that was once a friend?
I always say no to this because I feel it's overrated. And where I feel it's overrated is if you get certain players on your practice squad who used to be with the New York Giants, the Houston Texans, the Green Bay Packers, the Niners, so on. Well, I mean, there's only so much information they're going to be able to disseminate.
Yeah.
Because they're focused on, let's say the Niners are short players because of injuries and they got to use Lewisine to run some wide receiver routes. All right. Well, he's playing the role of Jalen Naylor or of Jefferson or of Addison or of Munt or something like that. So therefore, he's not going to be privy to what happens off play action when Naylor or Addison or Munt aren't in the game. Well, the quarterback's different. I mean, Darnold played the role of Cousins for an entire week of practice against a 49ers defense. Well, the quarterback in the scout team role, they have to know as much as they possibly can without knowing how the call goes. The Buffalo 7 Heaven, 526 Omaha, whatever. It without knowing the call, the formation.
Yeah.
They have to know, okay, 21 personnel, as they call it, 2 tight ends and a back. All right, well, here are the 6 things they generally do most off this. What about when they go 5 wide empty? All right, all week, empty meaning empty backfield. Nobody in the backfield with the quarterback. Okay, well, the takes, tells, talkers, and tendencies show from a percentage standpoint at this down and distance, at this part of the field, they run these 7 plays most frequently. So that's why quick twitch, last second, you see linebackers pointing at certain things, safeties pointing at certain things, because the hay's in the barn. Coach can't talk to the quarterback anymore, and it's too late to put people in motion. Well, that's what happened on the Van Ginkel play with Daniel Jones. Is Van Ginkel, like he did in 2023 against Sam Howell, he looked out to the left to make sure there was no change to the mark. Same thing in 2023. Now, when he was playing Washington, they were in a 3-by-2 set where he had 3 receivers to Van Ginkel's side, 2 on the other side. In the Giants game, it was a 4-by-1, but they both were empty backfield. And in the Giants game, the 3 by him were in a triangle set. But the screen guy was the tell. That was the mark. Now, if he moves, the bit's off. He didn't move. It wasn't off, got to the end zone. Same thing with the Washington game last year. Nothing changed. Well, to get to that point, you have to be so studied and so up to speed on the 4, 5, or 6 plays that the probability shows they will run out of this formation. Well, the quarterback, the quarterback for the scout team, I mean, he's on top of 25 to 50 high probability plays a defense will run in a certain situation. So that I'm not going to say it's a major advantage because Next Level knows Sam was in that spot. So therefore, if their key is Blue or if their key is Prince, or if their key is Bob Dylan, they're going to change the key. So the key will be changed. The key to the calls, simply because Darnold he'll be listening for things, and looking for Fred Warner to do things that give him a higher probability of where the corners and safeties are going to go. I know this is super Vince Lombardi technical, but the only way to answer it is like that, where if you have players like Lewis Cine going to the Niners covenant, I just, with all due respect, I'll take my chances with what Lewis Cine is sharing with Next Level Shanny about what's coming offensively with what he may or may not have been paying attention to. Well, Darnold acting the Cousins role for 3 practices and a mock game up to a game, that might be big.
And I wonder even to the offense itself, because terminology would be different game to game from Keys, as you mentioned, or potential audibles from Purdy.
Mm-hmm.
But what if Sam Darnold, just by watching, is like, you do this, Darnold does this Purdy does this 8 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
Maybe he met with Flores at some point throughout the week.
Oh, absolutely he did. However, the money to be made is from Darnold recognizing what Warner and Hufanga are doing.
Okay.
All right, now Hufanga played in our game last year, I think. And so therefore I use those layers there because Fred Warner he's going to get everything set up, and Hufanga, their safety, he's going to get things set up on the back end. Well, Darnold saw all of that, and you only can change so much in a short amount of time, or even some of the most learned players will make mistakes and not play fast because they change too much within the plan.
Man, they sent Hufanga on a blitz last year too. We got to watch for that. Put a hit on Cousins.
Yeah, he might have
get there.
Yeah, he was lost for a fair amount of the season, but
ACL, right?
Yep, he can be a problem.
Vikes Bites.
Vikes Bites, ya say.
One last piece of audio from Sam Darnold, and it is while talking about the Niners, but I thought it was interesting him talking about footwork specifically.
If you hitch, one too many times, there's a pretty good pass rush coming at you as well. So, just being able to play on time, I think is it's a huge key every single week, but this week especially, just playing on time and listening to my feet.
Listening to your feet.
Yeah.
Rex Ryan was listening to this press conference.
No, he was looking at them.
Absolutely he was, and a terrific feet. No one's ever doubted Sam Darnold's feet. Playing on time, big aspect of this offense. Big aspect of this offense, even more so, given that defense and that game of chess, whether it's adversary intel, it's bits and keys and takes and talkers and that. Darnold just has to do, in the end, what he's supposed to do. Vikings should have a chance to be competitive and maybe win this one.
You mentioned it yesterday, and I had forgotten just how well T.J. Hawkinson played in that game last year. And Dre Greenlaw was the mark because Greenlaw was coming off an injury where he had missed 3 games or right around 3 games. So cold-blooded Kevin O'Connell in cold-blooded fashion, he's throwing crossers and shallow crosses and like looking at the high-low bit and, there's Dre. Let's just make sure he can run. And you had Greenlaw chasing Hawkinson all over the field because he was not completely up to speed. That's not necessarily the case with the Niners this year. Now, Greenlaw's not playing. He's on that injured list bit.
Yeah, the Achilles, I think.
Right. But it still doesn't mean there's not a mark who you can put in space and make sure they can run.
Yeah, who's the guy that I mean, it's only week 2, and it's not, I didn't watch every play of the Niners game, but you've said that a few times, and it plays out. Like, Kevin O'Connell's really good at finding that guy that's an absolute L and just pushing that button as many times as he can. It played out with Hawkinson.
He does it early and makes you change because he has a lowercase L in his back pocket. Nick McLeod was the mark for the New York Giants. All right. And he went after 44 time and time again, Davey. And then when they fixed it with not Newbin, but the other safety, Pinnock, safety shade with Pinnock, he then went at Cordell Flott, who was the lowercase L. And, Tyler Newbin's not an L. He's just new. But in watching this thing back, Tyler had some rough moments. I mean, Tyler had some good moments, but somehow he ended up singled against JJ on that 44-yard hit. That's just crazy. I mean, everybody's calling it like It wasn't a 50-50 ball. It was 80. It was a 90-10 because it was a single, and then the safety got there late, so it wasn't even a 50-50. Kevin's really good at doing that, but so is Kyle Shanahan. And that's why you have to pull them out of their run, because if you have to commit the hitman, Bynum and or Metellus on a run guess, because that's how your probability is worked out, and he goes play action, now it's Ayuk, it's Debo, it's Kittle, it's sneaky Salbert, the backup tight end leaking to the right for a 12-yard gain. This is a battle of elite offensive minds and high-end head coaching minds.
We need to ask Papa about Demetrius Flanagan fouls.
He played good last game.
He did. He had a pick in that game. He's an off-ball linebacker. I wonder, could he be that guy, or is he a W?
We'll find out.
It's tough.
The Vox, Greg Papa, for the 49ers, calls games for KNBR out San Francisco way. He'll join at about 11:15. When we return, we have an outside of the covenant pressure point that bit me a little bit yesterday when I was reading up on some stuff around the NFL. And with the Carolina Panthers, I mean, it was the gift that just kept on giving. It just kept getting worse the more I read about it. This is a pressure point that is second to none at this stage of the NFL equation. That's next. Nacho Libre follows that on KFAN. Beloved Nacho. Twin Cities Live, 3 to 4:30 today on the TV. 9 to noon from 10 until about 10:40. Coming up around the corner, chat Vikings, Niners, and much more. 9 to noon. Occasionally we'll do something called Pressure Points. Nordo referenced it during Vikes Bites. And the pressure point for today takes us out of the Covenant and down Charlotte, North Carolina way. It's the Carolina Panthers, and the pressure they all just must feel, and that includes AT19, Adam Thielen. This could be Adam Thielen's final year, and I mean, what he's facing right now is just, I mean, it's bad, it's deep, and it might be worsening. And I pull for Adam from afar, man. So I'd like to see Carolina win some games so they can get some happiness down in that Covenant. But they're a pressure point of all pressure points ever to pressure point. And part of it is because the owner absolutely is a loose cannon who gets admonished for yelling at fans, but can buy and sell all of us. So, of course, he has a place in the NFL. I think his name is David Tepper. How about this pressure? Your Carolina Panthers were down 30-0 at halftime to the New Orleans Saints. Think about that. You have all offseason to prepare for the first game and a division rival, and you're down 4 touchdowns and a safety at halftime. And with a new coach who, after the game, basically said the plan needs to be simplified because the answers to the problems were too hard for the players.
Oh my gosh.
That's like one of the last things you want to hear at this stage of the equation. The teacher being like the principal or the vice principal comes up to the teacher and they're like, well, we're noticing here that, this plays into funding and everything if it's a private school or whatever, and the GPA matters. And everybody in your class failed. Why? Well, it's because the answers to the questions on the test or the quiz that would be of the New Orleans Saints were too hard. So we got to simplify things up in the Covenant. You have all offseason to secure the answers to a week 1 test, and the grade was a big, fat capital F, leading to a bigger, fatter capital L. It's an absolute kick in the hope-selling business. But the biggest pressure point here involves their quarterback, Bryce Young. Now, they selected this young man first in the 2023 draft and did so a pick ahead of C.J. Stroud and 3 in front of Anthony Richardson. C.J. can play and the world knows it. Anthony most likely can play and the world knows it. That's a dark cloud of teeth gnashing above Bryce until he shows he's requisite of playing the position at the highest level.
The Saints do bring 4. Young still in trouble as he steps up and now flings it. And that is picked off. Jordan Howden, far side of the field. The ball was overthrown, but Jordan Howden went and got it. 3rd turnover of the day.
WWL, flagship station, New Orleans Saints.
Jordan Howden, you say?
Sky you ma!
Bryce Young. All right. This is such a point of pressure for this National Football League organization. Why? Because it's the quarterback. Why? Because it was the first overall pick in the draft. Why? Because he hasn't thrown a freaking touchdown in 80 consecutive passes dating back to week 16 last year. I mean, they haven't scored a touchdown. They didn't score a touchdown for like 2 3/4 games crossing over a year. But their quarterback hasn't thrown a touchdown in 80 consecutive passes. His yards per attempt already is 5.4. A paltry 5.4 for the diminutive quarterback. So does Bryce Young just have no chance to succeed? Is this the bust of all busts ever to bust? His offensive line was terrible last year and doesn't seem much better this year, despite some new shooters. But see, that's part of the point of the pressure. This is the type of owner who not only gets admonished by the National Football League for either throwing beers on fans or yelling at fans at his own stadium, by the way, but he's the type to be like, let me get this straight. All this was bad last year, and then you brought in this guy and that guy, and it was bad week 1. Well, he's that kind of guy who ain't going to let you breathe, all right? But he can buy and sell most of us, so there's a spot in the National Football League. Hey, if Bryce Young is the bust of all busts ever to bust, obviously that is a major, major problem. But the pressure they're facing right now, this is a pressure point that hurts, and the pain is way too bad to absorb this early in what is supposed to bring joy to Panthers fans. You're supposed to have joy. I mean, ain't nobody buying a game-worn Chuba Hubbard. They lose their defensive tackle, Derek Brown, probably for the season. They let Brian Burns, they traded Brian Burns. So their one calling card they had last year was a defense that could be super stingy. So they wrecked that by trading Burns, and then human nature happens, and the talented 3 technique gets hurt. This guy Tepper can't get out of his way. Every single thing he's touching in the National Football League, including trying to get a stadium or a facility in South Carolina and basically being sued by the entire state, and it's not going away, that this owner, he can't get out of his way as a point of pressure. And I think it's impacting the team. Does Bryce Young just have no chance to succeed? The pressure point, the bliss of having a top pick quarterback has turned into the owner arguing with fans at games, the coach saying his players are not in lockstep with the plan, and a quarterback who lacks confidence and poise. Other than that, Miss Lincoln, how was the play?